Hello BookTube, welcome back to my 2026 library tour. This is the beginning of the final week of my library tour. Over the course of several months, I have shown you every part of my library, wrapping up with the fiction, poetry, and drama section. Today I'm going to start with O'Neill. January Gill O'Neill. This is her poetry collection, Glitter Road. A very lovely cover. This is from Kevin Carey Press, which is distributed by the University of Chicago Press. And I probably picked this up, if memory serves, when the University of Chicago Press had a poetry sale on, which occasionally they do. This is an okay collection. I need to revisit it, though, before I decide whether or not I want to particularly focus on collecting O'Neill's work or just keeping this one collection of hers. Long Day's Journey into Night by Eugene O'Neill. This is the only play of his that I have. Wait. Yeah, this is the only play of his that I have. It's a late play. It's about a dysfunctional family falling apart. I picked this up a few years ago when I had a strong desire to pick up more 20th century American drama. Initially, it was mid-century American drama, but it then expanded out to earlier in the 20th century and later in the 20th century. At Swim, Two Boys by Jamie O'Neill. This is a gay novel set in the early 20th century Ireland, and it's about two young men who gradually over the course of the novel fall in love, although there are tons of complications, namely as their romance culminates, the Easter Rising begins. I had a copy of this book before that I picked up in San Francisco back in 2006, and I got rid of that copy and decided that I really should give At Swim Two Boys another shot. So I picked this copy up a few months ago from Powell's, the great bookstore in Portland, Oregon. Devotions, the selected poems of Mary Oliver. This is a great collection or selected collection of her work. It is in reverse chronological order, so the more recent poetry is first and the earliest work is at the end. Gutter Boys by Alvin Orloff. This is a gay novel set in, I think, the 1970s. I don't remember much about it. I had a go at it a few years ago, and I probably should revisit it. I picked it up when I was in San Francisco in 2006. The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. As far as I know, this is Ozeki's most recent work. It's about a young boy who loses his father, and as he grows up, he begins to have conversations with inanimate objects. One of those objects is a book that tells him the story of how his parents got together. I have struggled with this book, but I'm hoping I can give it another shot soon and maybe have a much better time of it. The Black Book by Orhan Pamuk, translated from the Turkish by Maureen Freely. So this is a novel about a Turkish lawyer in Istanbul who is looking for his missing wife. And as he journeys about Istanbul, he remembers back to his childhood, as well as various interesting, quirky bits of life in Istanbul. I don't quite know what to make of my feelings for this novel. Which probably means that I do need to go back and revisit it and see if, what I think of it. I also have My Name is Red by Orhan Pamuk, translated from the Turkish by Erdag M. Goknar. So this is a historical novel set in the 17th century about a group of miniaturist painters for the Sultan or the Caliph who end up getting involved in murder. And it's told in a very weird way. I have unfinished business with this novel. Love in the Big City by Sang-young Park, translated from the Korean by Anton Her. This is one of the first Korean gay novels. It's about a young man who, over the course of the novel, sort of comes to terms with his sexuality and the various relationships that he has. It's a pretty good novel, although it reads more like novellas, like a series of novellas than a unified novel, if I remember correctly. But it's been a while since I read it. It was longlisted for the International Booker Prize, I think in 2022. I think that was when it was long. I think that was the year. But I would like to revisit it. Selected Poems of Giovanni Pascoli, of course, by Giovanni Pascoli, translated from the Italian by Taiji Silverman and Marina Della Puta Johnston. So this is a selected collection of Pascoli's work. This is from the Lockhart Library of Poetry and Translation from Princeton University Press. So the even numbered pages are the Italian original, and the odd numbered pages are the English translation. It's a pretty good collection of poetry. Within the Sweet Noise of Life by Sandra Penna, translated from the Italian by Alexander Booth. This is from Seagull, which is a publisher of both Indian literature and literature and translation. And this is a slim volume of the poetry of Sandro Penna, which is actually might be all of Sandro Penna. I don't think he really wrote a huge amount of poetry, but I could be wrong. These are fantastic poems. And unlike with the Lockhart, it's just the English translation. A Mott from Unincorporated Territory by Craig Santos Perez. This is a collection from Omnidon. I don't think I actually ordered this from the University of Chicago Press. I think I ordered this from Amazon. It won, this collection won the Pulitzer Prize a few years ago, I think. I need to revisit this. I don't think this really quite worked for me. But I could be getting this confused with something else, which is entirely possible. Our Man in Iraq by Robert Perisic, translated from The Croatian by Will Firth. So this is a novel about a journalist who gets a cousin a job as a bureau chief in Baghdad, and during the lead up and invasion of Iraq by the United States and allies in 2003. Although whether or not said cousin actually went to Baghdad, it's anyone's guess. I made a go at this novel a few years ago and didn't get on with it, so this is definitely one that I probably should revisit. Love After Love by Ingrid Persaud. I just recently added this to my collection. Kojiki, translated with an introduction and notes by Donald L. Philippi. This is a work of Japanese literature that I've had for quite a while in my collection and have not gotten around to reading it. I don't actually remember where I picked this up from. But I've had it for eons. The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Disha Filial. This is a short story collection that I recently picked up. Like People in History by Felice Picano. This is one of his I think this is perhaps his most famous novel. I recently picked it up and I have not gotten around to it yet. The Collected Poems by Sylvia Plath won the Pulitzer Prize. I had, I think, a single collection of Plath's poetry ages ago, back in the early 2000s, and rather liked it and have been dithering about adding this collected edition for a while. But I finally bit the bullet earlier this year, and we'll be getting to it soon. Annoyingly, this is the only Edgar Allan Poe I have, The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. This is a weird adventure novel that I need to revisit. It has been a long time since I read it, but it is very evocative. What I'd Rather Not Think About by Yinta Postuma, translated from the Dutch by Sarah Timmer Harvey. This was shortlisted for the International Booker Prize in 2024. It's about twins who have a very strange relationship. And ultimately, one of the twins dies, and the surviving twin sort of processes it. Thinking back on it, I don't know necessarily if I was fair with the novel when I read it about a year and a half ago. So probably would like to revisit it. I think there were things about it that I rather liked, but I think at the time, even though I did finish it, I really wasn't in the right headspace for fiction. Sorry about the interruption. The exterminator, when he visited a few weeks ago, didn't do a terribly good job. Also, one way to alleviate an arachnophobia is their usefulness in getting rid of other bugs. Anyway, moving on. People with No Charisma by Jente Postuma, translated again from the Dutch by Sarah Timmer Harvey. This is Postuma's latest in English. It's about a young woman who is dealing with an overbearing mother. I have not gotten to this novel yet. The Overstory by Richard Powers, winner of the Pulitzer Prize a few years ago. This is an expansive novel that centers on trees. I tried this novel several years ago, did not get on with it, and it kind of has bugged me. And a few years ago, there was a series of Katie Books made a series of videos about 10 classics you must read. And Steve Donahue responded, as did I. With Steve's final list, 10 contemporary classics, many of Steve's lists were books that I had bailed on. So my final list was 10 contemporary classics that I would like to bail redeem, or that I must bail redeem. At the time, it did not go well because I really was not in the space, in the headspace, mental space. It really wasn't fiction's time, I guess you could say. But I didn't pick this novel up. This one is a more recent acquisition. But this was one of the 10. The Blue Angel, or Blue Angel by Francine Prose. This was a finalist for the National Book Award. So this is about a creative writing professor who is struggling with his own work. In his latest class, he has one brilliant pupil who he takes under his wing, although the student comes to view this as sexual harassment. I'm not sure, I don't quite remember. I've never gotten far enough into whether or not she accuses him of rape, or whether or not the relationship progresses, or how it progresses. But she accuses him of harassment, at least, and he is, I think, eventually drummed out of the university. But it's been a while, and I never quite made it all the way to the end. This is a novel that I have unfinished business with. So, I will get back to it at some point. Brief Homage to Pluto and Other Poems by Fabio Pistola, selected and translated from the Italian by Will Scheck. This is a wonderful collection. I love this collection. It is from the Lockhart Library of Poetry and Translation from Princeton University Press. So again, the even-numbered pages will be the Italian original, and the odd-numbered pages will be the English translation. Night at the Fiestas by Kirsten Valdez Quaid. This is Quaid's debut, and it's a short story collection. It's pretty good. I first encountered this about 10 years ago. I was watching Simon Savage of Savage Reads. He did a try a story tag where you collect a number of short story collections, read the first story in the collection, and the collection with the best first story is the one that you read. And I kind of did that. Picked up 8 or 10 short story collections and read the first story. And Night at the Fiestas was one of the higher ranking ones. Although Night at the Fiestas is not the first story, that is, in fact, Nemesia. So, I eventually picked up this collection a few years ago and have read it periodically. I also have her debut novel, The Five Wounds, which is an expansion of the short story of the same name from Night at the Fiestas. I'm not entirely sure if Kirsten Valdez Quaid has anything else forthcoming or not. This is a classic of gay literature, City of Night by John Rechy. This is about a male prostitute who travels around the United States from New York to LA, San Francisco, New Orleans, who does not view himself as gay. That he is he's a straight man who as a prostitute services gay men, but he himself is not romantically attracted to men, although the novel gradually begins to undercut that assumption. It's been a very long time since I read this. I think I've had this since I was a teenager, but I didn't actually read it until I was in my very early 20s. Pocket Universe by Nancy Reddy. This is a really good collection of poetry. I think I've read it about once or twice. It is from LSU, so I would have picked it up during one of their year-end 40% off sales. And the final collection or final book on this first shelf is Vanishing Point by Kimberly Reyes. Slim volume of poetry from Omnidon, so I probably picked this up during poetry sale from University of Chicago Press because Omnidon has a distribution agreement with the University of Chicago Press. I did not particularly get on with this collection. I might revisit it at some point in the future, but this is one of those that I didn't particularly get on with. So that concludes the first shelf of the final bookcase. I will be back tomorrow morning with the second shelf of the final bookcase. So until then, BookTube, thank you. Have a great rest of your morning and have a great day.